Might have to pull her up and pull close on his feet.
Oh, my.
Okay.
Feel like a tractor and the block's ready to go and just waiting for the gun to fire.
You see me at the box, I'm not ready to go.
Being 7 o'clock, I'll call the meeting to order, begin with the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Encourage everybody to turn on their mic. Besides that, as old as I am, is getting the blocks, there may not be any, even if that gun goes off, it may not be a pretty sight anyway. So anyway, having said that, we have before you the agenda for tonight. Are there any additions? If not, I'd request a motion to approve the agenda.
I move we approve the agenda.
I'll second that motion.
Second. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Okay, minutes from last meeting, which seems a while back, is on pages 1 through 2 and 3.
I move approval as printed. I'll second.
Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Public input. Absolutely. You want to come up, Dave, and then make sure the mic is phoned on, or is on, and then you can speak into the, so all others can hear from you.
Okay, I'm Dave Dalton. I'm here to raise aware of some of the street department stuff over by my building.
Do you want to put the mic down, so just please, there you go.
It's pretty much got to be right in front of
Yeah.
you for it to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Across the street from my building, there's a inlet for the wastewater. There's a hole by it, or there was until last Friday. Okay, is this better? I'm gonna pass out a picture of the circle.
Yep, we can share.
Oh, I think that's enough.
Is that by the fire hydrant here by Dave?
Yes, it was that one we looked,
One also, Dave?
yes.
I think he took care of it.
Yeah, we'll let,
I need one.
yeah.
Anyway, I had contacted somebody a couple months ago about it. nothing was done. And the picture was taken, I could look on my phone and see. But yes, Ron sent somebody over there last Friday, indicated that there was a hole in the side of the culvert
Yep,
that
it's
it
a,
drains into.
it's a lift. To put them in, there's holes and they have a lift peg to go in there. and start
So
it.
is that Dommy's fault for not doing
It-
something?
They,
Hard to speculate.
it could be, but some of them, that concrete, it's only about that big a hole. Sometimes they put concrete in there and it just won't seal real good. So my Dave dug down and put a fabric in there and then packed dirt around there.
It
Dave
must-
and Dan.
Well, they were over there, I talked to them and they left, they come back with a shovel, I don't know what they did after that, but,
I put some concrete there last year, sometimes it filled void, but it didn't work.
but whatever you did didn't work.
Right.
Somebody should check it every now and then, otherwise, all that dirt's gonna go down that main and we're gonna end up with a big problem. Although one of them that was there on Friday said, well, it'll end up in the creek. Well, I don't know how far the creek is, but I don't think it's gonna make it that far. So I just wanna, there's things that are going on, so I just wanna make the council aware of it, so that's all I got then.
Okay, thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Also, to add to that, on most of them, drain tops, you can see they dome up. We ordered flat ones so you can mow over them,
Yeah.
because they're not easy to clean when you do get a flood, so.
You know, shortly after Dave contacted Will, go ahead.
This has been an ongoing deal for several months. Whenever they went down there to clean the debris off the top of it so it'd take water, somebody should have noticed it. So it's been an ongoing thing.
Yeah. But notify me and so I know Councilman Jones and I had a conversation then later that day, that morning yet. Ron and I went around and looked at not only this one, but the ones on your side, and that's why he said, talked about getting the dome, the flat ones instead of the dome with regard to that. So that hole's been there for a while, Dave? Okay, and since been,
I have filled it before, but I put concrete in there, a lot of times the concrete will seal.
okay, all right, okay, thank you. And thank you too, so. Hopefully, we'll keep an eye on the next time we get a rain and go down there and make sure everything is held with regard to that. But, yeah. Any other public input? Okay, hearing none, we'll go to the department heads. Each of the information with regard to Ted's on there first with regard to the police department report. Do you have any questions or any? Ron, you and I had a conversation. We went around and looked at some property with the tall grass on that. Has property owners?
I called him and told him about this weekend, he was gonna plan on doing it, but this weekend, it rained pretty much all weekend, so I'm gonna give him a couple more days. I was busy, I didn't.
It's not done.
I haven't been
Yeah,
down there.
yeah, I went by there again today and it's not done. You know, and this is more or less for, pardon me?
Can we set an official date that if it's not done by then we're gonna take care of it?
I think we
Instead of
need,
just
We
saying a couple more
usually
days.
do, but like you say, he said he goes out, I'm gonna do it this weekend, and then it rained for.
3
both
inches.
weekends.
what do you, is there a suggestion? I mean, today could have happened. Tomorrow, by Wednesday, I would say
Wednesday.
at the
I'd
latest.
say if it's not done by Wednesday, have at it.
Okay, and,
And no rain scheduled for several days.
you know, and this is, just more or less, for input with regard to, I know in the past they indicated that the police are to notify, one of the officers to notify Ron with regard to anything with regard to grass. But I think it's each of our responsibilities too. I mean, if we see something, I don't wanna think somebody else, okay, they're supposed to do it, so they'll do it. I'm just not one to assume anything, so, but, you know, and,
The reason I'm doing it that way is because that was the previous or two, they said it's going through the police department, they let me know. That's how
So-
they wanted it done, that's why I'm doing it the way I do it.
yeah.
The question I have is, okay, so instead of whoever notices the grass, why are we contacting two people? So they have to contact Ted first
No.
and he contacts
Well,
Ron?
you could,
That's the way it was set up originally with the council. The
Okay.
council decided to do it that way, and that's why I've been doing it that way.
So
But
we,
you guys here, obviously,
Not
you
us.
weren't here, but at the time,
Right.
go through the police department, lets me know, then I take care of it.
So that's in an ordinance or something
Well, I
probably?
don't
so
know
we,
if it's
we
an ordinance,
let, we
but
let
it's-
Ted know just so he lets you know?
Why do we?
Because do you let the individual know, Ted, or no?
No, usually I call them, and
Yeah,
most of the time
Ron
I
does.
don't have to do it.
and I'd be very, for the record, Ron is pretty good on that. I mean,
I'd
he's
rather
good as,
not do it.
yeah,
I got enough mowing my own.
yeah.
But it's an ordinance violation. An ordinance violation should go to the police department, not to a department head. I mean, that's the way I see it. Because I think that's how they discussed it before, was that it was an ordinance violation. An ordinance violation should go to Ted, and then Ted should disperse how that is taken care of.
Yeah.
So, if I remember,
Yeah.
if I remember the previous discussion on that.
Okay.
Sorry. I remember that.
All right. So the point I'm trying to make, if I see something, which I think, I got notification from somebody, I think that was from you again, that discussion we had that morning. And, you know, I'm saying this with, you know, with the element of responsibility each one of us have, is the fact that I hope we would notice something before a neighbor would notice something to notify it. Now, granted, the neighbor, you know, sees it coming, and I appreciate the neighbor's notification, I do, I really do. But at the same time, I think there's an element of responsibility that each one of us have with regard to that. And if I see it, to notify Ted and to notify, I'm okay with that. But I know, after I received word and we got together, looked for inlets, you and I went for that ride and, went around and looked at a few things.
I don't know if you're talking about the property across
Yes,
from us.
we did.
Nothing has been done in that portion for 3 years except for Chip when he went over there Sunday and started chopping stuff down.
Okay,
And I see him do that, so I got mine and we went over there and at least we cut the Canadian thistle that we could see out of it. But there's trees 3 inches in diameter there. And you get people from out of town coming to the swimming pool, what does that show us? I mean, it's kind of a sore spot. It's very sore to me because every time I leave in the morning, I get to look at it. So
okay,
I just thought something could have been done
Right.
previous
right, yeah.
year and a half or 2 years.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Anyway, we want to make sure that we all collectively follow through with regard to, you know, to what needs to be done and things of that sort. Okay, any other comment or anything?
What does the ordinance say? I guess I haven't looked at it. How tall is it?
10 inches, isn't it?
8 inches.
8
Yeah.
inches.
Yep,
So then why did we get this tall?
Good.
Can I ask that?
yep. Yeah, and that's what we're gonna
In
be,
this particular circumstance, I myself was quite embarrassed that no one else had noticed it, and that we did let it get that far, and I apologize to
Well,
everybody
that
that didn't
isn't,
look at
I'm
that.
not pointing fingers at you, because it's been that way in past years and this year at other places around town. And we have citizens in town that are doing it on their own. And we have an ad in the Miller Press, correct?
Not right now, there isn't.
No, but earlier,
Has been, yes.
Yep.
is that correct, guys? but we don't enforce it or abide by
Yeah.
it. Correct?
See, and that's what we're gonna try to take care of, Shirley, you know, and do our
No,
best,
Here
but,
it is, August.
true,
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
no,
A lot of times I mow it and then I don't weed eat it,
yeah, and we've
Yeah,
had,
but this isn't just weeding, this
Yeah.
is the,
the whole thing.
okay,
My neighbor wasn't taking care of theirs, so we are.
and thank
We
you.
just decided to hell with it because it was a mess.
Okay.
I paid to haul a load of trees up, a load and a half of trees. Because they weren't.
like I said, it's an element of responsibility that we all need to be aware of and take serious and do what we can. I did enjoy the opportunity to be with you and go around and check a few other things too as well. And granted, I have the time now to be able to do that, but I did appreciate, you know, that time that we did.
How does that work exactly? If you go and mow that, then does the city then send that?
They get a
Homeowner
$200 bill, and if it takes us longer than an hour, it's 200 plus whatever we did. If it's mow for 2 hours and a half, they get billed for 200 plus the half hour. Generally, we can get everything in an hour, but we've had a couple that pushed it years ago. They ain't paid for weed or for a half hour or whatever.
Is that based on
Section-
I'm sorry,
$200, whether we start the mower,
is that based on one person, two people, or
yeah.
one person?
One, yep.
I'm gonna guarantee you it's gonna take more than an hour for one person to do that yard.
Yeah, the weed eating alone.
Yeah.
take that.
Yeah, okay, all right.
It is section 24-38 of the codes and ordinances of Miller. It shall be the duty of the occupant, person in charge, or owner of any lot or parcel of land in the city to keep such lot or parcel free from all weeds or grass in excess of 8 inches in height, and to prevent by cutting any and all weeds from going to seed regardless of their height. And further, it shall be the duty of the police chief of the city to carry out the provisions of this article. And there's several different sections that it goes into it farther, but according to this, I'd have to get clarification on the previous section, B
Okay.
and C, but
What are the sections that it goes into? Like the remedies that I would use?
penalty, violation of any provisions of this article in addition to penalties contained herein may be punished by a fine in accordance to a class 2 misdemeanor.
So the code enforcer has nothing to do with it then? Not even the ones that have been obnoxious for months?
No,
They can
yep.
send it,
Yeah.
it's not within compliance, but according to this, it is our self-governing it ahead of
Yeah.
time.
And I'm thinking if, and I did try to do some things, the code enforcer is, the weeds are not the main issue, or an issue. I think that's more of a issue that's addressed in-house.
But sometimes it's junk and then
True.
there's all kinds of
True.
weeds because there's too much junk.
True.
And you can't mow
Okay.
around it, even if it's in the city.
And for public, just for my input, we did have a situation that has been remedied that not only contained grass, weeds, if you will, but also a couple of vehicles that were there that I questioned why they were there. Since then, the vehicles have been moved, and some of the grass has been cut, not along the boulevard like it should be, but, you know, and I think that's maybe something we might have to look at too. If it's not, if they do it, but they don't do it to a certain specification, then let's, you know,
I can show it to you later, Ted, but in 24-39, it shows that the police department can give notice to the landowner, and then they have 3 days to come in compliance with that, and after that, if they're not in compliance, we can just go over and mow and send the bill. According to how it's written here. That's what I'm reading.
Does that have to be an in-person or letter, or how do they, does it?
I would think within the compliance, it should be,
Notice shall be mailed or delivered by the police chief to the owner, occupant, or person in control of such lot or parcel of land.
What does it say under the junk vehicle one?
It's a whole other section that says
But,
it's all in 24 nuisances.
but who's in charge of junk vehicles,
Junk,
or whatever the term?
Abandoned.
abandoned.
well, that's a whole nother thing on if it's been given notice
But
of
does it say
removal.
the police chief or
I'm
why is the
thinking,
grass parsed out from the code enforcement?
well.
The
I-
police chief, failure to remove is from the police chief or some other person under his direction shall at any time after a period of 10 days from the written notice as set in section 24-2, cause such accumulation to be removed and report the expense thereof to the city council for special assessment against the property benefited. So it's
But I
same
think-
police chief as well.
I would imagine that they have it separate because the code enforcer isn't here as often as you're gonna have problems with grass. If the code enforcer's only here twice a summer, well, that doesn't do a whole lot of good when it comes to grass.
I understand he's not here, but he's also, do we not contact him about abandoned vehicles and he sends letters from his home or whatever? Just wondering.
I don't know, but as of now, we're gonna abide by what it has, and if we need to move forward with regard to changing it, in other words, we can do so, but as of now, we need to, comply with what is in there.
Well, I'm wondering what the code enforcer is gonna do then.
I think in.
Does he look at structures and things like
I think the
that?
structure, I think abandoned cars or things of that sort.
But it just.
Well,
says for-
That might be, but I think in there, it does specific talk about the grass. And I think I agree, because you can mow the grass today, and, you know, a few days later, it needs mowed again. The code enforcer's not gonna be around here
Every week.
so we just need to make sure that we stay in compliance with regard to the expectations that are bestowed upon not only us at this table, but I think all of us, you know, we're in this together. Okay? So,
And Dave, I apologize on my neighbors. I was mowing it for the last year and a half, but then my mower broke down and then it shut up really fast for my push mower. My push mower couldn't do it anymore, so.
okay,
For, not my property, my neighbor.
all right. Okay. Any more on that? So we'll try to stay on top of it and then, the best we can. So clarification, you shouldn't be getting a hold of them. The police department should be getting a hold of them, according to that. Am I right?
The way it's written.
Yes.
And
Okay.
I don't have a problem if they try and can't, they call me and say, hey, we can't get a hold of the person. Sometimes I do have numbers.
Well, and this
On
will
repeat offenders, I save the number.
be very, and I'm gonna say this is what I appreciate about, you know, what you've done the last couple of times. You called them. You've gotten a hold of them. In fact, one time, it was, word must have got there before, I think you said something, and it was started to be mowed.
Yep, I actually called when they were done,
Yeah.
not knowing that it was done, because it wasn't when I seen it. So I called them
Yeah.
and said, we got it done. I said, okay, we're good.
Yeah, I'd be more in compliance to call somebody. By the time you write a letter, by the time you send it and get there, I mean, that's another 3-4 days.
It's already gone.
Yeah, so, anything that we can do to expedite the situation.
Do you have to send that by certified mail if you're gonna fine them?
That's just notice. The first one is just a notice to comply. After that, it's.
I didn't know that, because sometimes you can go to someone's house if they owe you something. They're not gonna answer your door
Right,
if they
yeah.
know you're coming to tell them to mow
The
the
first one
grass.
would be
That
notice.
may be why we use the police department. I don't recall why they wanted to do that, but they said that, and I just followed that.
So, biggest thing to the city, the code is 8 inches and it needs to be cut within 48 hours of it reaching 8 inches, is the way that's written. So, that's the one thing to take away from all this.
Okay? Anything else with regard to that? Anything on the water and sewer with regard to,
I think Dave might have something.
Terry? Oh,
On the weeds and
Dave, come on.
and that stuff. This guy bought the property roughly 3 years ago. Nothing has been done in that parcel for 3 years. That's the way, how come it looks so bad? Now, if somebody would have notified him 2 years ago, we might not have this conversation. But I don't see why it takes 3 years for somebody to get, I won't say riled up, but sick and tired of looking at something like that to get it out.
I don't think there's anybody up here that was here 3 years ago. when it started, you know what I mean? I don't think there's any council member, including the mayor, that's been here that long. So it's a good refresher for us that we need to be aware of it, that, you know, under my thought, it was the code enforcer. Now, however, since this has been brought out, I'll definitely pay more attention to it as well. So it's good information, that's for sure.
From this point going forward,
It's on us, it's on
Yeah,
everybody.
yeah, and.
Just let any one of us know, we can let Ted know.
There is city limits property that people put up for hay also.
Yeah,
Determine that from something else.
and I think that needs to be an awareness too with regard to, you know, what's done there. And I think that's a little bit different than house, you know. I tell you what, I'd be concerned about not only having the weeds, I'd be concerned about what's in the weeds, you know, so that would be another thing too. Okay, having said that, we can move on. Anything with regard to Terry on the water and sewer? I do appreciate the opportunity to go out to Pier with Terry, Shayla, Mike, who?
I wasn't with that one,
Dale
Dale
went
was.
along, yeah. And sit in on with regard to the, in the future plans with regard to the airport. It was kind of interesting too, funding is based on, or, you know, correct me if I'm wrong here, funding is based that we get from the federal government is the number of airplanes that we have. Terry's 10, I mean, there's a certain number. 8.
What it is, but 10 is better.
The one thing that I suggested, and I don't know if it is gonna take a means to get a hold of one of our, either our senators or representative. In fact, I think it was Senator Thune might have been in the state this weekend. But anyway, having said that, we no more got back from Pier, and Terry indicated that you'd be surprised on how many planes stop here to fuel. Well, you called me, and we went out there, and there's 5 planes fueling up at our airport, coming from Idaho, going to Wisconsin, to Oshkosh. So my point, not only should the number of planes that you house, but also the traffic that is incurred at our airport. And I think for most of us, we're not aware of it until we're made aware of it. So I appreciate the phone call, I appreciate the opportunity to go out there and watch Brandon and Gordy out there fuel them, and, you know, visit with each one of them on their way to Oshkosh. But, so that was interesting. Anyway, having said that, I appreciate that time.
And just to clarify, Terry's comment of 8 planes, that's to qualify for the federal funding to keep our airport up.
Yeah.
If we don't have 8 planes housed there or more, then we're no longer qualified for,
We could lose our funding.
yeah, we could lose our funding.
Yeah.
How many do we have out there now? We do have 8.
How long do they have to stay here
Well, they check it every year.
to check, just check once a year? So if it's there on the day, you can always do it that day? Or is it, like they have to stay 6 months
Well,
or
they
something?
don't have to be here, they just have to be registered
Be registered, yeah. Because somebody could be registered here,
and then be gone.
be gone, cropped up, you know, spraying down at some other location, be there for a few time, you know, a few days, but this is the home
I know
base,
somebody
yeah,
who might be able to help with that, like registration.
yeah. Okay,
Perfect.
Could you register them in?
Yeah, I know he's got like 36 airplanes.
okay.
We'll take 10.
Well, they don't need any more there.
The more the better.
Okay,
The more the merrier, right?
Daughter's father was
yeah.
that, 36 airplanes.
Okay, anything with regard to the electrical or finance? I know I throw those two in there with regard to that.
I got one thing to add with mine. One or more mosquito pools tested positive for West Nile. West Nile is in Dan County.
Okay, thank you for that
The
information.
other day when we have to count them and send in certain ones in, and that day was 1 in 10 was the mosquito that carried West Nile. This is saying it's the one that has West Nile, but it's the one that potentially carry it.
Okay.
Now, in a couple days after these rains, we're gonna have an explosion. That's what they call a floodwater mosquito. The good thing, they're not typical. They carry West Nile. They're just miserable.
So to clarify, a mosquito that carries it was here, not necessarily that there was West Nile.
There was West Nile in one or more pools we sent.
Okay.
But we've been sending that mosquito in for probably the last week of June, maybe. We started seeing that particular mosquito, and we send them all to Pier two times a week, two different times a week we send stuff out there since then. And within the last week, we got positive. Now, I don't know if they get that vial and they put the stuff in there, if they gotta wait a week for that to show, or if it shows that day, I don't know that. That's.
But it's around.
My head. Just, it's something to know for people that are out, even if they're getting stung once here, once there. That day was 1 to 10.
Wear your bug spray.
Okay, and that's good information to get out to the public. Anything else for the department heads? I'd just like to interject, we're halfway through, well, we're actually halfway through our fiscal year, so if there's any budgetary issues or for the remainder of this year, make sure we take care of it. Make sure we take, stay on top of things and, work with your committees with regard to if anything needs to be done or just more or less awareness. And also is getting to, and I'm sure Shayla, maybe, getting things ready. So I don't want be behind the gun like we were this last year. Now, I know there are certain circumstances where that was just the case, but I don't want to be where we're under the gun that we have to hurry up and make the decision. We can review things and give you guys ample time to get everything ready and make sure that we kind of stay up. It's one of those things when you balance things out, you don't want any surprises at the end. But anyway, having said that, so work with your committees. And if there's anything that you need to, visit with them about, that appreciate that in the forefront. Okay?
Can I just add to that real quick?
Yes.
Legally, any overrun on a budget has to be planned ahead and supplemented prior to, like, buying something or going in the hole. You can't go negative you should never go negative. Some of the line items can go negative, but the full department cannot go negative. So if you know you're gonna go negative in a line item or whatever, let's supplement it before you purchase anything or before that happens. As far as 2024 budget, beginning of September, I'll be getting you all your sheets. Go through them with your department heads. We have to have those to compile probably by at the very latest mid-October, so you have to be with your department head, your committees before then. And then the last week of October, we will have to have a full council meeting to go through it, line by line. But that finance committee meeting, not on every 2 weeks, I watch where we're at on that to just see where we're at.
And Terry, that's a good point too, but there's certain things that you don't know until they're made available to you. So that's one thing. If you foresee something, that's another thing, okay? So, with regard to that.
Unfortunately, we do have people that are bills come 3 months late. I do not understand why it's not not monthly. Because it throws us all off.
You wait for Medicare and Medicaid to come 6 months. The information you receive is, yeah.
My dad was gone on January 2nd. In August, we got his final bill from August prior.
Really?
12 months.
I thought my 6 or 7 months was something, but not 6 months. Okay. All right. Okay, now I messed something up. I don't know what I did. Undo. Okay. What did I do? I have a page now.
Spinning, so we'll let it just.
Oh, there we go. Okay. I get kind of antsy on technology. Anyway, unfinished business from last week. Anything else with regard to department heads? Having hit it now. Okay, unfinished business. Second reading of ordinance Number 746 chickens, that's found on page 8. Okay, for the record, and I don't mind reading this again, the first reading you read through it. The second reading, if there's no changes to that, you don't need to read it. Now, this is not a big deal because it's a pretty relatively short ordinance that we're doing, but this ordinance 746 deals with care and control, and then Division 2 livestock, and just more or less the term livestock shall mean any animal which is raised normally agricultural purposes. The term does not include rabbits or chickens, but does include, although not exclusively, hogs, cattle, sheep, horses, etc. So basically and then 4-5157, chickens, city residents shall be allowed to have up to 6 chicken hens, no roosters shall be allowed. Said chickens shall be appropriately housed and caged with the premises kept in a clean and orderly manner to prevent a nuisance from occurring through odor, nuisance, or other means. So, having said that, tonight we will, if we have a motion on this in a second, we will vote on it if the council so chooses.
I'll make the motion. Maybe sign it.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded to approve ordinance number 746. Discussion. I know, Tammy, you contacted some other entities that had this. Any concerns or anything that came up with regard to it?
Not really. I mean, most communities said it's been a good thing for the youth in their communities, and they haven't had any problems. That's why a lot of the ordinances aren't real long unless you're in a bigger city,
Yeah.
where they worry about how many feet away from.
Yeah. Well, I know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm thinking Sioux Falls might have addressed something of this same nature. I'm saying that out of trying to recall, but I think they did. But I know the ones that I see in another community, they have no problems with, or it's just
Right.
kind of, anyway. Motion and a second has been made. Any other further discussion? All those in favor say it. Oh, roll call, my fault. Councilperson Hargens.
Aye.
Councilperson Lichty.
Aye.
Councilperson Wetz.
Aye.
Councilperson Jones.
Aye.
Councilperson
Price.
Price.
Aye.
The other councilperson, Hargens.
Aye.
Having unanimous approval, I declare ordinance number 746 passed. Congratulations, Tanner, if you're watching and stuff, so. Anyway, okay. Moving on. Property and liability insurance. I really, appreciate all the information that has been gathered. Before you were going to see some figures of the recent quotes from South Dakota Public Assurance, and you'll also see another one from Joe at American Bank and Trust. So I'm just going to allow you to take some time to look over those figures. I would one of the things that I really appreciated, and I thought there's a lot of discussion, a lot of inquiring when this issue first came up. And, from that time, I think we have, you may have been doing some things on your own with regard to this, but in the next 2 weeks, we need to, look at things. So the point I'm trying to make is the fact that if you want any additional questions answered that you may or may not be aware of, I would suggest each of you maybe get a hold of your department heads with regard to any questions they may have, or any past situations, or trying to see if we can, when it gets done, we're comparing apples to apples, and we're making what we, you know, the decision for moving forward with regard to that, so. And, you know, in the meantime, if a committee would, you know, like to get together to discuss things, you know, by all means do that, or just contact the department heads with regard to this. So try to gather as much information so we can have the discussion we need to have.
And if you have any questions for Joe, he is gonna be out of town from the 16th to the 29th of August.
Okay?
He's gonna be in South Africa
Yeah.
hunting.
Hunting.
Lucky dog, yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, he will be out of town for 2 weeks.
Yeah, and I know there's when I called Joe, he was very, I mean, got the answers, and same with Lynn. I mean, she got you the answers, and if, I know she indicated if she got back to you if she didn't have, you know, just to clarify anything. So I think both entities are, you know, obviously good sources, because that's the source of where the quotes are coming from. So anyway,
I have a question.
Yes.
One of the things that you guys discussed specifically was the amount of liability insurance that is available from each one of these. So South Dakota Public Assurance Alliance is $1 million, or is it $5 million?
That new quote is the $5 million.
This one is $5 million
Apples
liability.
to apples.
Yep.
So $5 million.
$5 million liability. And this one is
$5 million.
5 million.
$5 million. Okay. Thank
Okay,
you very much.
thank you for that. I haven't had a chance to, we just got these, you know, in fact, I was up here this morning, and I think Shayla was still waiting for some information because of, I think, we had an upgrade with regard to the electrical, and I think substation, so we wanted, and the ballpark, so we wanted to make sure that both groups knew that. So, South Dakota Public Assurance was given the opportunity to, you know, to adjust theirs in, so everything is,
My question, and I don't know the deductibles, but if we have a tornado, Lord knows they can happen, because we had one straight west. What happens if one comes through the center of Miller, and we got all these buildings, we have to meet a deductible for each building, or total?
see, and I think that's one of the things that, yeah,
Because we have 14 buildings that I just counted in my head.
14?
Yep.
Okay.
That's just top of my head.
Yeah.
This is the list of buildings. There's like 51.
Yeah.
Well, some are little shit things, aren't they? But
Right.
it's just the idea.
So that if
But
we
still.
replace them, still gonna have to
That's
do it.
that's $1 million. Mine's probably the next one's $1 million.
Yeah.
There's a lot of money.
Yeah.
You have to meet a deductible
Yeah.
several times.
See, and I think that, and then some other information that just is helpful, you know, with regard to making the decision.
And that question was answered before. SDPAA is $500 deductible for the event. And American Trust Insurance is $2,500 deductible for each site.
I thought it was 1,000 for each site.
It's
Was it
2,500.
2,500?
Yeah.
There's $1,000 deductible on the sheet.
Wind and hail,
Yeah,
yeah. Whatever the event is.
okay.
So.
Okay, so with that, I just,
Oh, dark.
and I know I have faith and trust and confidence, but we just, each one of us have to do our due diligence with regard to gathering the information needed to move forward.
And as far as South Dakota Public Assurance Alliance, I was on vacation last week, and I did not read the email until very late Friday, because I had like 180 emails when I got here. By the time I got down to the one that Dustin had sent to Joe, or to, that showed the new prices that DGR had given him for substations, I had to forward that on to SDPAA. They did not have that same information, so that was what held up theirs. They had already sent me theirs, but when I got down, I'm like, wait a minute, there's a new information that I did not pass on to South Dakota Public Assurance Alliance, because I hadn't read that email yet, so that's why they didn't have theirs to me until today.
All right?
I also sent an email to Shayla last week when she was on vacation, asking how many deductibles have we paid each year over the last, 4 or 5 years or whatever. Is that something you can get from South Dakota Public Assurance Alliance? So we've got some type of number so we know how many times we're paying that deductible? I mean, are we paying it once, are we paying it ever, are we paying it on an average of twice a year? I mean, you know, cause none for 5 years and then, oh, look, we paid 10 in 1 year. I mean, is
Well,
there?
we've had a couple vehicle ones this year. Nothing catastrophic, knock on wood, let's keep it that way.
Yes.
No kidding.
You know, but we have had, and then we've also had some government practices that we've used the hotline, so we have not been charged the deductible for those. There's one that is still currently active that has been going since 2019. I thought it was closed Friday. I was found out today that it is not closed, so that's still ongoing. That's a lot of attorney fees that because we use that hotline, we haven't paid a dime on that one and we won't.
And that's been ongoing since
2019.
2019,
Yeah.
okay. Okay,
So there are a lot of little incidentals, like I said, vehicles and the airport fence.
So we paid the deductible twice this year for
Well, for vehicles, it's only $250, so it's not, it's irrelevant basically on that, so.
How much goes for vehicles? I know we always talk property, is it?
I'd have to look at it. I'm not sure off the top of my head.
yeah,
That booklet with me.
yeah, we can,
I don't have it with me either.
yeah,
Building.
yeah,
Yeah,
okay, all right,
Yeah, buildings are your bigger hitters, obviously, you know.
okay.
Well, I got a couple things with replacement, minor big hitters,
Well, yours are, yeah.
road grader and blade,
Oh, yeah.
and a street, they're all the same, well,
and they are all replacement
we're at
costs.
200 or more to replace.
Yep, yep.
Okay, on page, moving on, oh
so-
no, we have new business, South Dakota Fit, with regard to, that information. I think, last week, or last meeting, we talked about, you know, what we wanted to do with regard to, moving forward, maybe taking advantage of, higher interest rate that South Dakota Fit offered. And I think, recollection, the total amount was, would be about $2 million, am I correct? $2 million that we would, do that. I appreciated the conversation. Tim came over and, Shayla and I, and the three of us, I thought we had a nice, you know, conversation and insight. And, with that, Tim brought over some additional information with regard to another option we would have would be, and that's in front of you with regard to CDs. And you can see that the options are currently a 6-month CD would be, okay to say it?
Or Tim can
Or
explain
Tim,
it too.
you come up. Yeah, you're gonna do a better job than I am, because I'm gonna mess it up some, and then you're gonna have to clean that up.
Correct you anyway, right?
Yeah.
No, not a problem. Thank you for your time and consideration. Yes, we came over and discussed some more. You know, we presented the option of doing the interfinancial institutionary sweep just as an option with the checking account. You know, you kind of surveyed the options, decided not to go with that, and is looking at you're doing more of an investment for a time period on there. So, you know, when kind of that part came to light, we decided, you know, we better reassess the situation, see what we were able to provide for the city as well. So we went back and worked with our investment and treasury department, and we'd be able to offer through the same way that we do the interfinancial sweep. We can do a CD. If you're looking at the investment being as a 6-month time period one, we can do one through the bank at 4.8% for 6 months. That's fully FDIC insured. Still be the same as regular CDs would have. You get all your principals fully guaranteed, backed with FDIC insurance. We can do, if you choose to have a longer time period, 4.65%, I believe, was the amount.
4.5.
For 4.45, sorry.
Yep.
Thank you for that. But yeah, that would be for the longer 12-month time period. Just trying to give some options depending on how long-term you want to hold stuff, where you're looking at for rate going. That'd be an option to being able to keep the money here locally in South Dakota, being able to be fully backed and insured with all your principal amount with using a CD as an investment.
That's basically right on par. with the, where.
South Dakota
SD
Fit.
is
Well,
right
it'd
now.
be about 0.5,
0.5 difference.
yeah, difference.
Yeah, cause
But that's a heck of a lot.
What
closer.
was
Yeah.
that, South Dakota Fit?
South Dakota Fit,
It is,
Well, I see the 4.91,
that's for,
but that's a non-fixed
non-fixed.
option, so that can
yeah,
change
that can
daily.
change. The 6-month, if you look on the back of the first page, a 6-month US Treasury bill as of today is 5.31. And this is the net rate, there are no fees on top of that, this rate.
It gives us more options where
It does.
we can
maybe
do
split
some
it.
Well-
fixed and some in the fluctuating market of there where it's not, we don't all have to take the majority out of town
No.
Right.
to South Dakota Fit, where we can look at maybe some higher reward things that are with South Dakota Fit program, but then also keep
Yeah.
a large sum of money still locally where, well, for lack of a better word, diversified.
Well,
Right.
you know, what you could do, you can still take the same amount, still take that $2 million.
And then split
to
it.
and split it however you wanted to split it. If you wanted to split it 1.5, 0.5, or
I
you
like,
want to do it.
the big thing I do like with, the fit part about is if we do the changing market, that is one that we can pull from a day-to-day basis. Whereas the other ones, that money is, it's under lock and key basically, or it's a CD essentially.
it's a CD.
Or-
And if you pull it, you're gonna get a little bit of a penalty, same as your CD.
Yep.
What
Yeah.
is the penalty for pulling out of them?
Usually it's gonna be the interest accrual for the, excuse me, time period, but it's, pro rata as a portion of the CD that's taken out. If you're making a, $500,000 CD and you choose to take 100,000 of it, it's 1/5 of what the penalty accrual would be. So you're not losing all your interest, it would be as per share of it.
Because we were looking at, trying to make all of our money work for us. This way we could still have access to a large sum of money growing that can be fluid, but then we could also have a large sum of money locally with a fixed rate that something very bad's gonna happen to the point where we have to go to the money that is at South Dakota Fit, and then we still have to get into our CD money. That is a major event, and the loss of interest is not going to be our concern at that point.
No.
No.
And I'll just put that, looking at, and all the finances are public. I think, looking over the figures, that $2 million, we feel, comfortable with regard to that investment and still maintaining the responsibilities fiscally with regard to everything else. I mean, it's just more or less for an investment return, and I think this came up with the conversation we had with Tim, is if, we're looking at the pool, we're looking at things that we could try to incur a little bit more that we can to be help a little bit with the funding of that,
Well, at the end of the day, the rate is much closer than
What?
before when we were considering it. So, I mean, that is a way
Yeah.
different ordeal, so.
And then my analogy of 3/4, 1/4, or whatever, I mean, that's up to you. I mean, we can split it whatever, however you choose to do it.
What do you like fluid? Out of that 2 million, what would you like fluid? Where if something bad were to happen, how much of it do you want fluid?
Well, we would still have some in savings, we have all of our checking, we have coin savings, it's fluid. And we'd have, so we
This-
still
this
have a
is-
lot,
We still have a pretty good cushion without this
Yes.
investment money.
yes.
Right.
So are we looking like we wanna go half and half on that, or?
And maybe we want you wanna give the finance committee the choice to make that decision and invest that money as the finance committee, if you wanna do
That would probably be the right, that would
so
probably
we
be the
can
right way
visit
to
with
do
them
it.
and kinda decide. But do a motion to give the finance committee that capability to invest the dollar amount that you choose.
So can we make the motion ahead of time and give them the authority to make a decision without having to come back to?
Yes.
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 I make a motion that we give the finance committee authority to divvy up the $2 million investment that we wanted to use between South Dakota Fit and CDs locally.
I'll second that.
Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Now, the next thing
Thanks,
is, when do we want to have that committee meeting? I think we need to,
Probably get that done sooner than later.
absolutely.
See, who else on that? I'm on it.
Mike and
Mike and Will.
So I think, Will,
Okay.
you're our wild card. I don't know what your schedule is at night, but whenever you guys can.
Yeah, if we do it in the evenings, I can usually make it.
Okay.
I'll have to check my wife's evening schedule, but I can shoot a text out to you guys.
Okay.
I think the only evening
can
thing
bring
that I
Autumn
have
with
is
ya.
that we'll have an
You can bring
evening
Autumn with you too.
practice,
Yeah.
because we'll.
She'll not know what's going on.
Cross-country, but I've got
Yeah.
two very capable young ladies that could, can handle that practice though too, if it dipped into that.
Okay.
Okay?
When I get home tonight, I'll check my wife's schedule, shoot you guys a text. Did you say
Okay.
you're pretty open?
I think I will be.
Well, evenings are pretty good for you, like after 7?
Yeah, anytime there's.
Ron?
What day is your first practice?
Thursday.
This Thursday?
Yeah.
Just not Wednesday night.
Not Wednesday night
Wednesday.
golf.
I have
not-
missed more
just
golf
not
than I've
Friday
been there
night.
this year, so I'd like to go to this one because I golf against my daughters.
I don't blame you.
I think,
Not Wednesday and not Friday. so-
Yeah, no Friday night for me.
Especially this one.
okay, all
Yeah,
right.
especially this
So, we vote on that?
Yep.
We have.
We did.
Motion.
Motion and a second, okay, I don't want to leave anything else hanging, with regard, I did that last time, okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same, motion carries. Good. On page 9, you'll see the DANR, grant agreement.
This is just one of, actually, this has been, it's quite large. This is the whole thing. I didn't think you probably wanted that entire thing in your packet, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And I didn't think you'd read it, but it's a typical grant agreement. This is the one that we were given in May of 2022. But if we want phase 4 to go forward and to be able to do it next year before our ARPA funds expire, if we can sign this grant agreement, they can start drawing funds from this to do our design phase so they can go to bid. So we can get somewhere hopefully by, we have to have a contract before the end of next year, otherwise we lose our ARPA funds. So, and our ARPA funds are 326, or 226,000 plus what the state is donating to for ARPA funds. So those, and that, their portion is almost 3 million. So we don't wanna. Oh, no. Oops.
Everybody wake up.
Okay,
So this was just one way, if we sign this grant agreement, and then, if nothing happens other than that, we'll have that grant amount or in the loan amount, cause the loan's already out there. They'll divvy it up percentage wise, just to get the design phase going, and then depending on our rural development funds. Cause they're running out of funds, and we might have to wait until October to reapply for their rural development funds to have a better chance to get more money. So,
So
There's a
we
lot of
better
stuff
jump
we-
on this while it's out there.
yeah, I think so.
And I don't think there's a lot of discussion on phase 4. I mean, you can't have people paying for city improvements that haven't had the improvements yet.
yeah. And for, and it's lengthy, I do want to read the first paragraph, and I would like to congratulate the city of Miller for obtaining the American Rescue Plan Act grant for Phase 4 Utilities Project. The 2022 GARP-166 grant is for $113,421 of eligible wastewater cost, and of the 2022 GARP-167 grant is for $2,733,245 of eligible drinking water costs. So that's pretty much And then it goes on and talks about the other agreements with regard to the project and stuff, so, having said that. So, I'd entertain a motion to give me the authority to go ahead and sign that grant agreement.
I'll make a motion, Mayor Tom can sign the agreement.
I'll second that.
Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Okay, now, the next item on there is from SPN Engineering Agreement. And it's pages 10 through 12. I came up, I read through those and that agreement, and having read that agreement, I just asked Shayla if anything is out of the ordinary with regard to the agreement with SPN in the past, and she assured me that it was pretty much the standard agreement that we've had with them with regard to a project. And that those, again, are found on page 10 through 12.
Again, for this, in order, we kind of went out on a limb and they've started the design phase because they know that we're responsible for the engineering fees and the building of the road. So SPN has started this so that we can get it done so that Tim can get his house going yet this year. So for them to design that road is, we gotta get moving. So they graciously agreed to do it without the agreement, so they're already doing it, so.
It's already in the works, is that what you're saying?
Yes, but it is, according to our ordinances, it's our responsibility to engineer and design and build the road, so.
Okay,
We really don't have a choice, I mean, regardless.
It's
We
gotta
gotta
be
do it.
done.
Yeah.
So I make a motion that we sign the agreement.
I'll second.
discussion. Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Okay, item number 4, SPN Phase 3 invoice, number 31833 for $5,811.32. That is found on page 13, and,
Make a motion, we pay the bill.
Second?
discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries.
I would like to add in here, we would normally have had Olson's final documentation, but they are not gonna give it to us until they get their payment from the last $940,000 that we're still holding because the state has not given us our money yet. So hopefully at this time next month, we will have all the final documentation for phase 3 completed. But until they get their money, which I don't blame them, they need to hold that, so.
Is this unusual if not getting the money from the state?
We hit it at fiscal year end. We sent everything in June, and then they held everything. And then I don't know what happened, but it kinda, it's been a daily conversation with the state, when are we getting our money? I did get emails Friday, that is gonna, some of it's starting to come in, so.
Okay.
We are still gonna get the money, it just depends
Oh,
on
yeah.
when they decide to send
It's
it.
just because of the timing.
Right.
They had to stop everything and then restart for their next fiscal year. So
Sure.
we just hit it, very poor timing, so.
Appreciate Olson Construction for
Holding
their
it.
Yes, they have
understanding,
been-
you know, with regard to this. Okay,
That's a big outstanding bill that they've,
Or there goes half of our savings we're trying to put away, right?
no, it's already in the checking, it's already actually come out of our checking account, so.
don't say that.
How fluid is that?
Is there some sort of estimated time that we're gonna be able to pay Olson?
Like I said, they sent me emails that the first few batches of the funds are coming through, so I'm sure by the end of this week, I'll be able to send that check.
Nice.
So, I really hope by the end of this week I can. But
Okay.
they've been holding this since
That's a
July.
pile of money to be sitting on.
Right?
It's huge, it's huge.
That's a big company that can sit on $1
And
million.
that's not only come from a council person, that's coming from a contractor.
Yeah. Oh, that
You mean you wouldn't wanna sit on $1 million bill, Will?
Sure wouldn't.
Okay,
Neither would I.
all right. Item 5 deals with the East Fourth Street project, and all that information is on page 14, 15, and 16. On page 14 is a pay request for $293,341.39 for Olson Construction. Go ahead and that, again, like I said, that's on page 14 with regard to that.
I'll make a motion that we pay the invoice to Olson Pay Request 3.
I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Certificate of substantial completion, that's found on page 15.
Terry, you agree with the substantial completion? You don't have any outstanding punch list? Make a motion that the mayor signs the substantial completion.
Okay,
I'll second.
discussion. All in favor?
Warranty from that date on.
One more time, Terry.
I said the warranty starts from that date.
That date? Okay, sounds good. And I know they can't be responsible with it. I tell you, hats off to Olson Construction. I mean, I was over there, obviously I'm at the school, quite a bit, and the work they did, the workmanship. I was really concerned about how they're going to get the ground level to the level of the sidewalk, but boy, they did an excellent job. But having said that, since we've had the torrential rain, there is some washouts. I mean, Terry, they'll come back and fix it? Okay, so I think and most of it is on the school side, there's some on the residential side, but I just hats off to Olson Construction, because they just did a great job. So anyway, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Okay, SPN invoice number 31852 for $6,142.45, and that's on page 16. And I think that's just like the first one. I think that's just for the
East Forest Street.
personal. Yeah.
I move we pay invoice number 31852 in the amount of $6142.58.
Have a motion. Second.
I'll second.
it.
There was an echo over that side.
We'll give it to Tammy. Okay.
Okay.
Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. All right, now we have 4 building permits. Tim and Abby Heyer for house. Aaron and Kelvin Kendall for a garage. John Gasper for a shop and a garage. And Sheila Hancock for a fence. We do fences now?
Yes, we do.
At one time we didn't.
Correct. That's been in the last,
Okay, that's fine.
like, 7, 8 years ago, maybe. I don't know for sure.
There's always I would want my neighbor to put up a fence, because it seems like if you're the one putting up the fence, you have the backside of the fence on your property line.
The neighbor gets the good looking side.
Good, yeah.
Neighbor does.
Double-sided.
Well, if we're gonna do that, we'd have to double. Yeah, so I've always noticed that, so anyway.
I guess I didn't look for you signed off on all of them?
Okay. Can we do it? We can make a motion
I'll
collectively
make a
to.
motion that we approve all 4 building permits.
Okay, a motion to.
Second.
Second, discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries.
Do you have to have a building permit to remove and replace a fence if you're doing it exactly the way it was?
Right? As long as it's the same height and.
Same
Same
location.
material. Type of
You're changing something on the dimensions.
Okay.
Make a motion, we approve the bills.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Okay. Take a little break if you want to, or go right into executive session. So,
Let's do it.
is he here?
Well, I pushed him back a little bit, were you guys gonna do bills or not?
We did
just
that.
did.
We just did them.
Okay.
That's all right. Hey, tell them not to hurry. We'll be here.
We can take a break, or stand up session.
Take a little bit of a break, okay? I can give you time to.
Thank you for your time.
Yes, thank you. Thanks, Tim. Appreciate the, Shirley, thank you too for coming. Dave, you too.
Dave, I got my rider fixed. I got my rider, or my tires, I had to get a couple tires ordered, and they showed up after you mowed my neighbor's place. I'm trying to make it so it's not my neighbor's place, and it's.
Well,
Someone already did.
That's a block.
well,
That's what I heard.
Well, the corner was,
see,
at
the
least
thing
that
of it is
got
too, and I
mowed.
went over beside that, right
The other
there,
one is
along the
worse.
fence, where the
I've
city
been down
divider
there, I'll have to
fence
drive
is
by it.
for our building over there. That kosher weed is half as tall as the fence. Along the, right across from the swimming pool. That chain link fence, yeah.
Kosha does real well this time of year. You get
Yeah.
one rain, they can grow 6 inches a day.
Tree sap, I mean, it's.
I'm gonna have to just take a lap around. All I usually do is get on the main drains home, go to work. That's about all I ever go.
I was gonna go mow it, and then I'm always not gonna do that.
Well, if you do, you're
Take a
gonna,
chainsaw.
you're gonna, oh, I know some of that stuff. Well, I'm always leery too, because, I was mowing one time and I hit a tree stump. And that cost me dearly to get the blades and the shaft all back in the line, because it,
Oh, I've broke the housing before on the blade at the farm.
In that ordinance, it states that if you're using the mowers from the city and they damage any equipment, like they get into a tree stump and they do that, that person has to pay for those damages as well.
It should be.
So that's in the ordinance, so make sure they use the city equipment, because then we can charge them for that.
Yeah, I gotta get the old stump grinder out. I got a bunch of guys that get stumps to grind. When I bring it out, I get about 10 more. As soon as somebody sees, oh God, I got a couple.
Out Main Street,
I got about 10 people already.
I just printed this out today, cause your interviewee might have
And
questions
summer's
on
getting
our
away
benefits,
from
so
oh, thank you, thank you,
That's all of our up to date as of today,
great,
of our rates.
thank you. Now, am I,
This one we're not doing yet. 'Cause
Okay.
this one they didn't get in time for Dustin to review
good.
it. They got it in Friday, but Dustin wasn't.
now they haven't done it yet, are they? They haven't done it yet.
It's not done, is it?
Well, sometimes that happens.
Yeah, he said, no, I'm gonna be gone on vacation, so
Good.
it's fine.
We get this weather, did you see how big this little bit?
Okay.
This week looks a little better than last week. Last week, I had enough.
Cause I think he's changing.
That was brutal the last few weeks.
It just would not quit every day.
You got any chores to do up in the heavy rain belt north?
Yeah, we poured coffees this morning.
What'd they get over there? So we had 6.5. Get over there southeast of Rockham, they had 9.5.
You got a hole dug out there behind Cody Severson, doing shot foundation there.
I'm gonna be the contractor.
Water.
I talked to one of the wind tower guys. They dig them 8 foot deep, and I think they're 70 or 100 feet across, level full.
But you can.
That take a little pumping.
Yeah, it was 20, 30 hours, 2 bunch on him. Finally got it working. Now we poured the footings Friday. I was really glad we did that. That'd been a disaster.
Only thing I hired done was I hired Will to do the concrete, that's what I think those two. I hired DJ Houston to do electrical from the house in the garage. And I hired the rafters to do the inspections.
You don't get a rain like that very often in Augur. Usually it's like this.
Yeah, it was kinda all day, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's all night. All day, all night up north.
It's kinda shocking too up there. 6 inches of rain. I mean, there's some water staying around, but not what you would expect.
Not like what you would on a storm though. Yeah, our creeks are running again, but, I mean, it ain't bad. We needed the rain, that's for sure. There's gonna be a lot of 200 bushel corn now. You probably have some grain bins to pour. Floors. There's nobody's gonna have enough room. That's a good problem to have.
It's pretty nice damn weather for July.
Just turn them away a little bit. Just not be right where it is. Not be up right.
Right, well, then we've got too much money to, you know.
Yeah, but if it goes all the way down, then it goes right back up. It goes down.
Oh, that could be.
So between about 9, 10 in the morning and 3 or 4 in the afternoon. So within 5 hours. And you're like, how do you dress for that? Stop, we're redressing.
And we split so many storms, we got hit with rain one time.
What do we do? What do we do?
And one of them was, because Moab was so hot. Actually, we went to our house in Moab, we went to the shop.
Oh, is it? Okay. No, bring it in. Yeah, we can, we can do that.
Well, thank you.
Oh, yeah, we are missing. Let's do a motion first, I can shut off our
Yes.
camera and stuff,
And I can leave?
I'll make a move.
Can I do that motion to go into executive session?
Yeah, we have to make.
I'll make a motion, we go into executive session at 8:16 PM.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor, discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, the same. Motion carries.
Sorry to keep you sitting there.
Not a big deal, guys, not a big deal. You go right ahead, I'm out of here. I'm gonna open right.
Who do we want to lead? How does that work? What's happened in the past?
One person has